Hi everyone, in the last video I mentioned I broke my old plane, so I decided to make small planes out of it. And here they are. This was actually a quick build, so let's see how I made them. Okay, so these irons are Benchtop brand and I bought them for $2 each when the second nearest rockler closed their business. And this is a base from my broken plane. First, I'll make a chisel plane. The one I wanted to make is something like a Uramiya chisel rabbet plane because I thought it looks cool while I could have gone with Japanese style Sumitsuki planes. Dimensioning the wood was quite easy as it's small, but it was sad that I cut the base of the plane that I learned a lot from. So yeah, for the bed angle, I made it 43 degrees, though the Uramiya one was 49 degrees. I thought 49 was too steep and I wasn't sure if I can push this tiny plane straight with the resistance. Anyways, the angle doesn't have to be that precise as I wasn't even sure if the 43 works well, so I just stuck a little bit of blue tape on the scrap wood and used the miter shooting board to make a reference block, which is 43-ish degrees. Then I drilled a hole with the block and it looks like this. Yeah, one guy suggested my video is too close, but at this moment, I didn't know how I can achieve a wider shot, so it ended up like this. Then I hogged out the hole. At this time, I went too rough and hit the chisel in the wrong angle. So I had to set back the bed a little bit, but it's alright. The thing is, the plane body is too small to use a reference block on, so it was difficult to make the correct angle. And it looks like this. Okay, I promise I won't do it again. Anyways, it's almost done with the first plane and it took me 2 days to finish, but I think the actual working time was like half a day. Oh, as you can see, I used cherry as a wedge. It's just because I had a little cut off from my previous cabinet project. Moving on to the second plane, I did pretty much the same process to prep the wood, but this plane was what I really wanted to make. It was actually much easier as I can easily cut the bed with chisels. So I decided to make a Tsutsumiguchi style mouse that I can minimize the gap behind the blade like the picture. I somehow managed to make it at this moment. And yeah, as you can probably guess, this plane concept was a Western coffin plane with a Japanese plane heritage. You know, because it's literally a part of my dead Japanese plane is in this coffin plane. Oh, I have to say an accuracy of the top part of the groove I'm working on is very important when it comes to Japanese planes as a Japanese cutting iron is a wedge shape. And the top side of it, where it's called ura, is always a reference surface. However, for the Western plane, I realized the bed angle and the flatness of it is very important. So I went back to clean the bed again just to be sure it's flat. Well, I had a hard time finding how to make the wedge, but I ended up screwing the wedge to the board and this worked pretty good. Now it's almost there and after I cleaned the surface of the plane body, I adjusted the sole of the plane and from here, it's all about the mess. As the plane iron is small, the Tsutsumiguchi mouth that I mentioned was super fragile. Therefore, I decided to cut it off and now the feature I wanted is gone. but I still wanted to do something, so I decided to try putting a brush sheet on the sole. I really suck at handling brass, but I somehow managed to make a right size piece. Then I cut the mortise on the plain sole. It's actually easy process because I'm familiar to wood fabrication, so I thought I did a good job and it's done, but I'm a person who always try to do things not needed. Yeah, I was gonna just put screws on the base, but they actually screwed me up instead. What happened here was I only waited a few hours after applying 30 mins epoxy, and while drilling holes on the brass sheet, it shifted a little bit by the heat from friction, which I didn't notice. Then I wanted to remove the brass sheet to do it again, so I tried to remove the screws, but I messed up a screw head, so I had to give it up, and just in case, I put one more screw in the middle. Anyways, at least the brass sheet is stable, and let's see the performance. Okay, so the chisel plane. There should be many uses, but the reason I made this is to chamfer inside corners when I'm lazy and not cutting the miter on dovetails, box joints, or any joints. The thing is, because it doesn't have a front mouth, it tries to dig into wood, so it's risky to cut the long chamfer. And this is the main plane. I was sad to find the brass screws I got were only brass coated, but after adjusting the cutting iron, this works pretty well. It's more decent plane than I expected. But yeah, after I made so many tests, as you can see from the shaving, when it's a thin shaving, it's jammed in the mouth. To have a consistent shaving, it has to be like this thickness. At least it can cut the full with shaving, so I'm happy with it. I also shaved some cherry, but it was also the same, but I think it's usable level. Okay, that's about it, but I kind of feel like making more variations of small planes now. It's really a fun project, and I have to find a project where I can utilize these new planes too. Anyways, that's it for today. Thank you so much for watching. I would be happy if you liked the video and happier if you subscribe to this channel. If you have any suggestion to my video, it's also welcome. See you!